At my parents' 50th anniversary, my sister thanked all the kids who made this family what it is. She left me out. Then my brother raised his glass and said, "Here's to the ones who always showed up when it mattered." He didn't even glance my way. I laughed along, ate my cake, and left quietly. 3 days later, I sent them a video that made everyone stop smiling. They say the youngest child is either the favorite or the forgotten. I used to think I was the latter, but over the years, I've realized it's worse than that. I wasn't forgotten. I was ignored on purpose. My name is Eric. I'm 31, and this story starts with a forkful of vanilla cake and a laugh. I didn't mean 3 months ago, my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. It was this big, over-the-top event at a rented banquet hall. White tablecloths, gold chairs, a string quartet, the works. My sister, of course, planned every detail. Lydia is the oldest, 42, the golden child, organized, dependable, married with 3 kids, always the hostess and the one sending thank you cards. Then there's Adam, 38, the middle child, my older brother, the funny one. The rebel turned family man. He runs a car dealership now, makes 6 figures, and somehow gets away with not calling mom for months because he's just so busy. And then there's me, the artist. Or at least that's the label they gave me back in high school when I started filming skits with my friends and editing them on an old laptop. I turned it into a career, freelance video editing, small business ads, weddings, some YouTube work on the side. I love it. It's not glamorous, but it's mine.to my family, though I might as well be unemployed. Every gathering comes with some version of still doing those little videos from my aunts or ever thought about getting a real job from my mom. I used to explain what I did, but it was like talking to a wall. So I stopped trying. I just smile and let them believe whatever they wanted. The night of the anniversary, I arrived a little late. A client call ran long and traffic wasn't kind. When I walked in, no one noticed. Not unusual. I found my seat quietly. I wore a navy suit, clean shaven, gift in hand. I'd even made a short anniversary video. Photos from their wedding day, digitized VHS clips, messages from friends and family, soft piano music in the background. It played on loop near the dessert table, but no one seemed to know who made it. Dinner went as expected. Lydia sat at the head table with her husband and kids, glowing in the spotlight. Adam joked with Uncle Ron about football. I tried small talk, but it felt like swimming upstream. They talked about promotions, vacations, Lydia's oldest getting into Stanford. When I mentioned a documentary project I just finished, Lydia smiled vaguely and changed the subject. That's when it hit me. They don't ask me questions. They just wait for me to stop talking. After dinner came speeches. Lydia went first. She smiled her practice smile, thanked everyone, then turned to my parents. "You raised 3 amazing kids, each so different and unique. Thank you for always supporting us and showing us the meaning of love and family." Nothing surprising. The slideshow played again. People laughed, clapped, even cried. No one mentioned the video. My parents didn't ask who made it. Maybe they assumed it was Lydia. When the cake came out, I stood near the back of the room, plate in hand, smiling politely as people passed. I watched my parents glow in the candlelight, Lydia and Adam beside them like a perfect family portrait. And I wondered if I walked out right now, would anyone even notice? So I did. I left, tossed my plate, grabbed my coat, and slipped out the side door without saying goodbye. Outside, it was raining, light, cold, misty. I stood by my car for a few seconds, letting it soak into my shoulders. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I wasn't even hurt. Just erased. Like I've been scrubbed out of my own story point 3 days past. No calls. No texts. Not even a "why'd you leave early?" That's when it shifted. When the sadness hardened into something else that I replayed Lydia's speech in my head like a broken record. Word by word. Then Adam's toast. Then my parents' silence. That's when the idea came that I opened my editing software, dragged a blank timeline onto the screen, and titled the project, "Here's to the ones who always showed up." As the timeline slowly filled, frame by frame, I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. But I'll get to that. Let's go back a bit. Let me show you how this family dynamic became what it is. Because it didn't start at the anniversary party. That was just the final straw. the last smirk, the last skip name dot, and oh, if you really want to understand why I made that video, why it made them all stop smiling, you need to see what came before. And trust me, it's worth the wait. Like most things in this family, it started long before the party. It built slowly, layer by layer, like water dripping on stone until the whole thing cracks. You don't notice it at first. You excuse it. You tell yourself that's just how they are. But one day, you stop making excuses. And all that built-up silence turns into fuel that I'm the youngest of 3, born 10 years after Lydia and 7 after Adam. I used to think I was an accident, until I overheard my mom on the phone once telling her cousin, Eric was our little surprise. Surprise always sounded better than mistake, so I clung to that. Still, being the youngest in a family where the older 2 had already set the bar sky high meant I was always playing catch-up. Lydia was the straight-A student with the perfect college resume. Adam was the high school quarterback who somehow made detention look charming. And me? I drew cartoons in the margins of my homework and made stop-motion videos with action figures. That wasn't productive. That wasn't something you bragged about at church. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Or Lydia never gave us this much trouble. I didn't even do anything wrong. I just wasn't them. When I was 16, I won 2nd place in a national short film competition. I was over the moon. I remember running into the kitchen, holding the award certificate like it was gold. My dad barely looked up from his newspaper. "Is there prize money?" he asked. There wasn't. Well, maybe next time. Lydia had gotten a standing ovation the week before for baking a pie for the church fundraiser. They still bring that up every Thanksgiving, but I kept going. I worked through college, took every editing gig I could get, and even moved back home for a year after graduation to save money. That's when things really started to rot. Lydia was already married, living in the suburbs. Adam had just bought his first home with his fiancée. They both came over for dinner every Sunday, without fail. And every Sunday, the script was the same. Lydia would bring dessert and talk about her kids' projects or her husband's latest work trip. Adam would brag about his sales numbers or show off photos of his new grill. And me, I'd mention a project I was editing, and Mom would nod politely before changing the topic back to Lydia's casserole recipe. Sometimes I wondered if I could confess to robbing a bank, and no one would even flinch unless it meant I could finally afford a real job. But the real turning point came after my dad's health scare 2 years ago. He had a minor stroke. Thankfully, it wasn't severe, but it scared us all. Lydia and Adam rushed in like heroes, calling hospitals, talking to doctors, asking questions. He's my dad. I just thought we were all doing our part. But then Lydia started calling every night. Not me, but Mom, to check in, offering suggestions for therapists, vitamins, routines. And slowly, it was like she'd become the one holding everything together. Mom would say things like, "Thank goodness Lydia is so organized," while I stood right beside her folding Dad's laundry. I could have screamed. When he recovered, they threw him a recovery dinner. Lydia made another speech. She loves speeches. She thanked Adam for visiting Dad in the hospital and for bringing some much-needed humor. Then she said, "And of course, I tried to help from afar, but, kids and work." Then she gestured toward me. "And Eric was here, too. Probably watched some movies with him, right?" I didn't correct her. I just excused myself, sat on the porch, and counted the minutes until I could leave without being scolded for not staying long enough. Still, I kept showing up. Birthdays, holidays, baby showers. I was always there. I helped set up. I brought gifts. I took photos and videos for free, and I never said a word when people would gush, "It's so great that Lydia documents everything," while holding a photo I'd taken. That kind of silence becomes a second skin. You wear it long enough, you forget what it feels like to speak up, but the betrayal, the one that broke something I can't rebuild, came last Christmas. At Lydia's house, of course. Perfectly decorated. Matching stockings. Pure Martha Stewart vibes. I'd wrapped my gifts carefully, labeled them neatly, and brought a bottle of wine I couldn't really afford. When I arrived, my name wasn't on the dinner seating chart. "Oh, sorry," Lydia said. "I must have forgotten to print that one. You don't mind squeezing in at the kids' table, right?" I laughed it off, sat with my nieces and nephews, and tried to make it fun. I joked about Santa, made them laugh. The kids loved me, Maybe because I actually listen. Maybe because I actually listen. Maybe because I don't talk over them like the adults do. After dinner, we did the gift exchange. Adam got our parents a smartwatch. Lydia got a designer bag. Her kids got tablets and Lego sets. I opened mine, plain black socks. No card, no note. My mom smiled and said, "We figured you could use something practical." It stung, but I could have let it go. Then Lydia's husband joked, "Everyone got spoiled." Well, except Eric. Someone must have been naughty this year. Everyone laughed. Not cruelly, just casually like it was normal. Like I was the family punchline. Something cracked inside me. I didn't yell or cry. I just stared at the socks and realized I wasn't really part of this family. I was a prop point 2 weeks later. The final blow came. I found out by accident that my parents had opened a family trust. Lydia and Adam were listed as beneficiaries. I wasn't. I only found out because Lydia forwarded an email to the wrong Eric. When I asked Mom, she sighed and said, "Honey, Lydia has a family to take care of, and Adam's been helping us financially. You don't really need much, do you? You're a minimalist, right?" A minimalist. That's what being excluded had become. I just said, "Okay," and walked away. That I ignored their messages for 2 months. Lydia asked me to make a slideshow for the anniversary party. I ghosted her. Adam invited me to a group call. I ignored it. They went ahead without me, like always. That was my proof. If I disappeared, nothing changed unless, I showed up, smiled, ate cake, and left quietly. 3 days later, I started editing that I had footage they didn't know existed, old conversations, photos, years of family events I'd filmed, but never shared. And I began cutting something real. Not a tribute, not a celebration. A reckoning that if you've ever sat in a room full of people and felt like you were behind soundproof glass, you'll understand. That night, with the socks still in my duffel bag, I drove home, didn't even take off my coat, and cried. The key.